Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Welcome to Diz and Hers, the show about what's happening in the Disney community from his, hers, and your perspective. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Eric. And on today's show, we're talking about why Disney fans seem to be craving that physical experience again, from a physical Disney store return or themed movie theater merch or immersive lands. We're also going to talk about the Carousel of Progress update that everybody is talking about online.
But before we get started, we want to remind you that Diz and Hers can be found on all your favorite podcast platforms and also in video format over on YouTube and Spotify. We would love it if you could head over to Apple and leave us a quick rating or review and let us know what you want to hear us talk about on an upcoming show.
All right, but what we're going to be talking about today is something that you know very, very well, and that is the return of the Disney Store. You and a couple of your friends and family all made it out to, where was that in Pittsburgh? It was one of the little suburbs, or is it the Ross Park Mall?
Yes, and it is Ross Park Mall. And so if you've listened to I Want That Too, the consumer products and history podcast that I do with Jim, we talked all about the actual experience over there. So if you didn't listen to that yet, go there. But we're going to talk about it in a different light today, because even a week later at this point, like, the Disney community is still really talking about it. They're excited about it. So we kind of want to see what the community is saying, but I can't stop thinking about it either, but maybe for a different reason. So it's not about like what was in the store. To me, it was what was happening outside. And that's what I keep like thinking about over and over and over again. So I mentioned it, and I Want That Too, that, there were, I would say, probably at least 1,000 or thousands of people that were there for the opening. They're all decked out in their park attire, waiting hours to go into this teeny tiny little store. And we were going into the mall the other night, and I was telling you about this, and like, I just kept asking, like, why? Like, that's weird behavior, right?
Well, I mean, it's weird behavior to an extent. I didn't think that we'd have that many people show up in the greater Pittsburgh area. So I know that it's a decent populated area, but Pittsburgh's not, it's not like Chicago or New York, or it's not like it's in Florida where you have a bunch of Disney fans. It's like Pittsburgh. So I was just like, all right, there'll probably be a little bit of a line that, to get into the store, there might be sanctions and so forth. But when you shared videos of like the outside, and just wrapped around almost the entire mall. And mind you, malls are not like the super hot spot anymore. Malls are, in a sense, dying. There's very few that are actually like hotbeds. So I was really surprised, and even more so when you start seeing people with Mickey ears and I mean, Disney shirts and so forth. I'm like, wow, I know we're an outlier, because let's face it, we do Disney podcasts. We're like annual pass holders. We're not the norm in West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Ohio area.
Right.
But maybe there's more of us than we thought, I guess.
Right. And that is what I realized, is that, like, even though we're in the, I'd say, Midwest-ish, that there are way more of us. And I mean, people were coming from Canada and New York and stuff to come down, but they wouldn't do that just for the merch. Because, I mean, I've talked about it. You can get merch anywhere, right? You can go on Amazon or Walmart or Etsy or wherever you want to get your Disney merch. So it wasn't about the merch. So what was it really about? And so I'm wondering, so we have a teen daughter, and she's like, I'm like, well, what were you doing today? And she's like, I was watching the Brady Bunch. So I'm like, is it like what's old is new again? Like, we've seen this stuff returning over and over and over again. And Eric, do you remember when we were in high school, like, we would go to the mall and hang out? I think Lainey said, she's like, oh, I feel like people are going to the mall again. So I don't think that this was about the merch per se, or the store itself, or just because it was a grand opening. I think it was for the experience. I mean, like, if you look at what people were saying online afterwards, like, besides complaining that they couldn't get their Pittsburgh shirt, like, I think that they were not talking about what they bought, they were talking about the experience. So what did some people say, Eric?
Well, I mean, we found a couple here randomly. It's Z Limits or Z Milts. Standing in line with a bunch of sickos that love what you love is something not enough people have experienced. So I think you're right. I mean, I think that was kind of the deal is maybe people were looking for a gathering of like-minded people, and I just didn't expect it to happen. But when you go to a concert, or in my case, if I go to like a wrestling event, you are with a bunch of people that have very shared experiences, and that's probably about the best you can do in local areas. I guess you can go to like little like live music, but like if you go to a big old concert, it's the people that are willing to pay big money to see the same thing. So I guess there might be a sense of community. I didn't anticipate like the Disney store bringing a community together, but I'm guessing from Disney folk, where else can you do that on a grand spectacle, except for maybe like when Disney on Ice comes to town, or maybe there's a local musical. There's not a lot of hotbeds anymore where there used to be. Because, I mean, mind you, in Pittsburgh, there used to be an actual Disney store, an Eisner-esque
Yeah.
Disney store with like the old 90s props and everything at the South Hills Village Mall. And when we were craving a Disney hit, we'd be like, all right, we're going to go to the Disney store. And just walking in there and seeing the cast members with the normal name badges and just seeing some of the props and stuff was just enough. It's not like a Disney experience, but it was enough to kind of get that hit. Is that kind of what you're thinking a lot of people were doing this for?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's the experience, and so I, was sharing videos and stuff from the experience, and something that I noticed and a lot of the people that watched the videos were saying was there were a lot of adults. Like, many people said, like, "Where are all the kids?" And so that kinda leads us into our next comment. So this one was from somebody, so this was Diz Figment, love, that says, I worked at the Disney store during the late 2010s, and they started finally embracing the Disney adult trend towards the end of my run. I'd imagine these revamped stores will lean way more into that. And it said upper management at the Disney store was really stubborn about stocking things that Disney adults were constantly asking for, like ears, park centric merch, pins, unique clothing, and accessories. They thought t-shirts and coffee mugs were pretty much all they needed in the store whenever they were consistently losing guests because, you can get much more unique stuff otherwise, or even at like Hot Topic or Box Lunch.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and when I was looking, so I didn't go with you guys because I was not about to stand in line or deal with crazy. Like, I just listen, power to everybody that wants to be in that community. I am the opposite. I like to be kind of passive and just walk around and get my fix by looking at things I like, but I did see things like the park. They had some, like, the park plates, I think, park cups. You didn't send me any good pictures of them. You were just sticking around on other aspects, but I saw them peripherally, in other people's videos as well. But yeah, that's stuff you normally wouldn't see in these. A normal Disney store was like the plush mountain,
Yeah.
of all the characters and costumes for kids. And you're like a Hot Topic box lunch, even like a Spencer's. We went into Spencer's the other day and it's just Disney merch, but it's very adult. So yeah, you could definitely see that the people that are making the decisions are adults and people that are going to go out and buy these things and seek this experience. And it might just be a hit from nostalgia too. Like if the teenagers are also going back to the malls, that's great for malls. But all of us who grew up in a mall, maybe we're just like, hey, this is a thing that we haven't done for a long time because we're also busy. So we want to get like the Amazon purchases. And when we need something, we can get it quickly. We don't have time to go linger and lounge. But maybe as we get a little older, that's what we end up doing instead of, being at McDonald's drinking coffee with the guys in the morning, which is the common trend for our senior pals now. Maybe we end up doing mall walks and buying collectible mugs.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. All right, so this is another comment which really made a lot of sense. So they said new regime changes usually bring some interesting changes. I'll be curious to see how it goes. Is Disney trying to regionalize the magic since air travel and park tickets keep rising? Are they seeing a drop in online sales and trying to bring back brick and mortar? We'll see. And I thought that was such a fascinating concept. And it's just like you said, like, like if you weren't going to like, Disney on Ice or show or something like that, like how could they regionalize this? And I was talking to a friend and she was saying it would be really interesting if D23 would do more of these regionalized meetups for the fan community. I thought that was really smart. And someone else had mentioned like having like a droid version of a Build-A-Bear. So having these other
The
like
droid
small.
depots just kind of hanging out. I mean, it could easily work.
Yeah. I mean, so I get that. So going back to, I talked about the earnings call a little bit, and I have to say this again because I feel like we as Disney fans, we know what we want more of right now. And I feel like the company knows and understands, and they're trying to figure out ways to kind of like deliver on that without the financial risk. So, Josh Tomorrow, like his background, people know him from Disney experiences in the parks, but he also like consumer products. So I think he understands that Disney, fans, they don't want to just consume digitally anymore. Like, do you think that there is a little bit of like a digital fatigue going on?
Well, I think a lot of people after COVID essentially were locked in and we loved it for an extent because it was like a break from the grind. Then everything became digital. So I think there is an aspect of like, yeah, going out and experiencing things. I think there was a huge boom right afterwards. It's because we're finally free. So I don't know over years. I mean, someone like myself has got to the point where I'd much rather just watch a movie on Disney Plus at my own house. But there's a lot of people on the other hand are like, no, let's go experience it and be in a theater with other individuals and hear the crowd erupt with applause at when something big happens. So I don't know, it's just this weird circumstance where we're in where things are more convenient to us to not have the physical, but the physical probably makes a lasting memory or at least gives you an experience to
Mhm.
get out of that kind of mundane hustle bustle efficiency world. And I think it's
Well,
just getting it like with things like AI that makes your life even easier to do certain little trivial tasks. You're going to either have more time to do things that you want to do, or you're going to seek human interaction. It's going to go either way, and we're right in the brink of it right now.
Right, and even if you look at, we're talking about culturally, but even if you look at Disney as a company, so if you go back 20 years, the parks were the parks weren't like they weren't the centerpiece of the company. The movies were, the
Right.
animation was. And the parks were important, but they were almost treated like a byproduct of the stores. So now, just listening to that earnings call, it's almost the opposite. So when Disney is talking about growth, they're talking about all their new cruise ships and their park expansion and their new experiences. Like you hear that over and over and over again. I think I even said on I Want That Too. Like it's like a drinking game when he says immersive experiences. So I feel like they're treating everything now like in attraction and people want that physical. So it's physical, places and experiences and environments. And if you think about going to the movies now, like 20 years ago, Disney just wanted you to buy the ticket. But today, they want you to buy the ticket, get the, refillable popcorn bucket, get the collectible cup, take a picture, share it on Instagram, and show people that you participated in something.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of looking at the like consumer cycle, I think.
Yeah, well, you also look at it. It's very more, back in the day, there would, all right, Disney movie. Here's an animated movie. One once a year. Maybe two other studios did some type of animated movie. Well, it's very competitive now. Not only do you have multiple studios, anybody can make pretty much anything now. You're competing against all these other aspects online. I mean, if you think about it, there were no YouTubers. There were no, there were television cable stations, and there were maybe 37, maybe to 100 if you're in a big market. And now it's just so much of an option. So you have to diversify. And what are you competing with in an immersion land now? There's not that much, right? Like I'm looking at things like, all right, you have your Universal Studios, you have your regional theme parks. Netflix as like a Netflix house in Philadelphia that I'm excited to like kind of explore and learn more about. There are some museums regionally. So if they got back into that game and found spaces like malls to give some type of immersive experience, then that would be great. I think people would love to witness that. The question is, how long will that last? The infrastructure and money to put into that has to be, there's a lot more to that than saying, hey, we're going to make this show. And if it doesn't do anything, we just kill it on the streaming platforms. Like hard physical environments cost a lot of money, and there's a lot of, money that needs to go into it, training labor, getting labor, all that. So I'm interested, and I think we could, but like how long would that last? And I think there needs to be feasibility studies, hence why they're doing these limited stores, right?
And they're doing them with a partner and everything, so it makes sense because, I mean, I think you and Jim talked about the horror night, like, experience that you did in Vegas and
Yeah.
how, like, I mean, it was really elaborate and, there weren't a ton of people there and experiencing it. So I get it. And so they're trying to be strategic, but, like I said, all the growth areas are physical right now. And I don't think anybody does those, physical experiences the way that Disney does because people don't remember even what they bought or they don't remember their digital experiences as much as like if you think about going to the parks, like the smell and seeing the castle for the first time and buying the souvenirs to preserve those memories. I mean, like they are really uniquely set up to win in this space. I'm hoping that they will invest in it. So, anyways, to bring this full circle, I think that the experience is why thousands of people stood in line in the rain to go to the Disney store in Pittsburgh. I don't think it was about the store at all. So, what experience do you miss the most? Is it the Disney store? Is it something that was in the parks that's gone? A ride, show, attraction, a parade? Let us know. We want to hear from you. And after the break, we're going to be talking about one Disney experience that fans definitely have strong feelings about. Disney just announced major updates that are coming to the Carousel of Progress. So let's just say the Disney community is having mixed emotions. But before that, there's this. Before the break, we were talking about how Disney seems to understand something bigger is happening right now. People are craving experiences and nostalgia. And what's funny is that Disney fans were online talking about how much they miss the Disney stores, sharing all their like memories and practically begging Disney to bring them back. At the same time, Disney is dropping major news about one of the most nostalgic attractions at Walt Disney World, the Carousel of Progress.
Yeah, so this came out of the blue to me. I didn't know. I had no idea that they were doing more of a refurb. I originally announced last year they were like, all right, the opening scene where it's just a widget talking to you. It's like the bright screen, and they is going to be a new Walt scene, which I was
Yeah.
super jazzed about because I think it was like Walt in a blue like cardigan kind of style, maybe talking about almost like talking about Project Epcot, kind of that era, so to speak. But yeah, this week they launched it. Hey, no, we're not just doing that. We're doing like a whole revamp. And I think there was a lot of people out there that are like me, which is like, I like the idea of this. We like new things, but also a very much like, oh man, these are my scenes. This is what I've witnessed for the last, you know, 10 years. So what are they bringing? Like, what are they doing here, Lauren? I know you kind of kept up with it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Eric literally ran into my office in the middle of the day and was like, "Oh my gosh, did you see this? Did you see this?" Like everybody is, going crazy online and talking about it. So, from what I understand, they're changing up the timeline. So, we're getting in the 60s, we're getting the moon landing. The 80s, we're getting a Halloween scene. At 99, New Year's Eve, the rise of the internet, and then a new futuristic finale inspired by the original kind of concept. And like I said, the internet has thoughts. So what are people saying?
Well, on you went to Reddit and grabbed a decent amount of comments here. It says the carousel progress hasn't shown progress in so long. The future scene is so outdated. They needed this badly. Silicon Knight said, "I'm just glad they're investing in it." I said it on another subreddit but to me, it's more historically significant ride. It's the most historically significant ride at WDW. Walt worked on this and was alive for it. All the other rides are adaptations of things he never really saw. This isn't. So to them, it celebrates the progress of something the park shouldn't be shy of. That said, it's hope it's never removed and always improved. So yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. There's a lot of cries out there that says, this is the one that Walt touched. Well, yeah, no. I mean, they redid this in 94, I think. So obviously everybody knows the last scene is just horribly outdated in every
Oh
little
my
way.
gosh, yeah.
Talking about laser discs and the technology that they're playing that game on their on the television. I mean,
It
the
looks like an
television itself.
Atari.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously there needs to be some type of update, and I hope Disney understands that, all right, the moment we update this last futuristic scene, it's going to be outdated. So I hope they kind of go way into the future to the point where almost like Horizon esque, where, yes, you have flying cars and stuff that obviously we're not going to be able to get in the near future. So that way it stays good for a while.
Right.
But a lot of it comes down, I think that when it comes down to it, there's a matter of we don't relate to those old scenes, so we're nostalgic to them. But like, obviously, I don't have a
Right.
clue about. I don't even know what era they're in. Know anything about a Winnebago or like circuit breakers? Like people have no idea. Like you could blow a fuse and take out a neighborhood. I mean, I never think about that when I'm doing too much power here in the basement. So I don't. It's interesting. So I don't know if they're updating it because we don't relate. Where now, if you're talking about, you're definitely going to have people that relate to the 60s. We're going to relate to the 80s. A Halloween in the 80s, I mean, that is like a perfect mixture. Y2K, absolutely. That is like my entire teenage years, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to relate to it. So maybe we're going to see some enhancements. And I don't know, will it involve more people? Will it get more people over there? Is anything else going online? What are other people saying? Are they pro or against this?
Well, I feel like there's probably a lot of people, and there were so many comments, but this Scott Hutton says, I get it. I'm a Disney purist. I love the attraction. It has Walt's fingerprints all over it. I'll mourn the changes. But Walt himself would have never allowed it to stay stagnant for so long. And the current attraction skips from the fabulous 50s to the future, which is a big leap. So it's time for an update. And so, I mean, I feel like you guys weren't just talking about are the updates a good thing or a bad thing? I think people had a lot of thoughts on the eras. Even my boss, he was like, like Halloween in the 80s. Like, what is that about?
Dude, that's the 80s holiday. Come on. That is like when you got all like the Friday the 13th and the Michael Myers films. I
Yeah.
mean, if there's a holiday for the 80s, it is absolutely Halloween. I don't know how they'll play that in, but come on, that is perfect.
Okay, well, what about so we're getting to like Y2K. So we're getting to like 2000 and then we're jumping to the future. Like I feel like there's probably somewhere in between like the rise of the internet like
Well,
era, digital
that
like
that is 1999 and 2000. I mean, we all had it. It was dial up, but I mean, like how
yeah,
interesting
but
it
I mean
is.
we've come a long way from dial up to the future.
Well, listen, if we're talking about the current version where they go from the 50s to whatever that time frame's supposed to
I
be,
guess.
right? You still can jump. I don't know. I mean, yes, there's a lot of interesting things, but if you're looking at landmarks, if you're doing New Year's Eve and they're worried about the freaking world shutting down because the clock, the computers can't handle it, I think that's a good opportunity. And it's not like we can add a bunch of extra scenes there. I mean,
Right,
there's
because
only
they're
so
still
much.
using the current ride system, and I think they're using even a lot of the animatronics, right?
I don't know exactly what they're going to do there. I imagine there'll be like lots of nods. If we can take something like this is a reskin, so to speak. So if you look at the most recent reskins that they're doing at the parks, you look at the Muppets, and it turns out a lot of the stuff in the queue and it is all being redone. Uh, and there's lots of like nods to the old stuff. So I imagine that they'll probably do something similar, and that'll make us all happy if they say things that were in the old scene that like we point and we're like, hey, I know that one. I get that. That would I assume that that's the way it's going to go, and we'll all be happy for that. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is that I like the old stuff, and it's one of those things where like you will see this show for the last time, and that will have to resonate with you. That like, hey, these are all going to be pulled apart. They're going to be reskinned. They're going to redo these, and you just have to live with that. I think a lot of us who remember these things would love to preserve it in a museum somewhere, but that's just not how it goes with Disney. You're not getting the museum of old attractions.
No, and I mean, like, I also think that Disney is strategic, right? Like, and they are making especially at Disney World, an investment in the parks that they've not made at any one given time before. And so they're trying to attract in these new audiences. And so, like, even going back to the eras and what they pick specifically, like a lot of times, if you look at the consumer base of these their ideal customer. Like they want people that are coming, once every 5 years or 10 years or whatever that are going to drop 10, 15, $1,000 on this trip and spare no expense because they want to experience everything. And a lot of times, I mean, it's the grandparents that
Right.
are paying for that. So if you have the 60s, you're covering the grandparents.
Right.
You got the 80s, now you're covering the parents. And then this 2000, I mean, maybe or maybe not the kids, but like you're getting that like the future look. So I think that you can't have an attraction with the Carousel of Progress. I mean, progress is in the name, and having things that modern audiences just can't connect with. So I'm just looking at the why this is happening. Do you agree, disagree with that?
No, I mean, I think I look at it this way. I'd much rather have a new Carousel Progress than no Carousel Progress, because the options are they could have just ripped this out and turned it into something that did at Disneyland. Here's a DVC lounge for money, right? Like, yeah. So
Yeah,
here's
I
an
do. I think they're
attraction.
trying to save it. Like, I think they're trying to preserve
Right.
it.
Right. Well, they are. And I mean, so it's real interesting. If you listen to the most recent Disney Dish, they talk about this. Obviously, Jim does the history of it, and they talk prominently about, hey, in the future, the core part of this park is going to shift more towards Villains Land. So having something over in Tomorrowland that can eat people, because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
opening capacity up. I mean, you open up a brand new land, you're allowing more people in the park. That gets things real congested. You need a place that can, I think they were saying 3,600 people an hour. That's air conditioned, that's updated, that a lot of people haven't, seen. I don't think after the initial year, or once you've seen it, I don't think it's just going to be this thing that's now creating lightning lanes and everybody needs to see it. It's going to be
Right.
the same Carousel of Progress that you go see once a trip, maybe once every other trip. How frequently you go, I don't know. But I don't think
But
it's
do
just going
you
to be
think they're
this.
trying? I think this is gonna get a marketing push when it's done. And so if you look at it right now, you have the Disney purists that are commenting and people are really passionate about it. And it's beloved by like us, like Disney fans. But most of the people that are going to Disney's target audience, they're not the Disney fan. Like they're not the purists. So like they're not experiencing it. Think about
Right.
our friends
Right.
and family that go to Disney World. Like when they come back, like do you hear anybody talking about that as far as, like, attractions go?
Well, no, why would you talk about the Carousel Progress right now? But then again, it depends on who you are. If
But
you're a coast,
nobody's really doing it, and, like,
right.
unless you want to, like, have that midday AC break, like, people aren't they probably don't even know that it's there.
Well, how often? I mean, listen, if you're going to list the top 10 things that you did at Walt Disney World and you actually spent a week there, I don't care if it's now or later, you're still not putting the Carousel Progress in the top. You got to be a sicko. You got to be a
No.
theme park enthusiast. You got to really love the history and the elements of it. It's not a show that you're like, oh man, Carousel Progress up there with Guardians. It's never, and it's not going to be that now. I'm very happy
But
that
I
they
don't
are.
disagree. I mean, like, it's not gonna be in the top 10, but they're leaning so heavily into Walt Disney, and, like, I'm thinking that this is like Abraham Lincoln in
Mhm.
Disneyland. Like, I
The
think
common folk
people
do
will
not care
go
about
to
Walt
see
Disney.
Walt Disney's animatronic.
Of course they will, but the common folks, a person who loves a Cedar Point or who loves a Kennywood or a regional Six Flags park, the common person who's making this a once in a lifetime trip does not care about Walt Disney like the fans do. So they're going to see
That's
it
not
because it's a
true.
show,
If you grew up with watching Walt Disney on TV,
right?
you don't think that those people would be like, "I really wanna go see Walt." Think about the lines of people that just wanna get their picture with the Walt statue in Epcot.
They're all people that are diehard fans. The 60-year-olds have already been to Walt Disney World. Those are the ones that watched Walt on TV. They're all 60, 70 now. The people that are in their 40s never watched Walt on TV. We watched Michael Eisner, if that, and there's no Michael Eisner statue or animatronic yet. He's not even a legend. So at this point in time, I say this is going to be it's a nice, wonderful enhancement. I hate to see this part of the park go, because there are all those lovely renditions and pictures of Walt working on the animatronics and stuff, and it looks very similar. Even though the show has changed, I imagine we're going to get all new outfits, looks. There's rumors that the narrator isn't even going to be the dude. It's going to be a female narrator and all types of stuff. And the wife is going to be the one. So it could be 100 completely different. And I'm good with all of it. But man, it would be nice to have some of these like archives somewhere, but that's just not how theme parks go.
I mean, they've talked about having like a traditional theme park somewhere in Asia that had like all of the old attractions. So, I mean, maybe someday.
Right. So let us know what did they pick the right eras? Are you excited about it? Do you hate this? Are you going to go to it more? Is this going to be Guardian of the Galaxy in terms of your top 10 ranking? We want to know all about it.
All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Diz and Hers. For more, make sure you're hitting up dizandhers.com. There you'll find articles, episodes, and updates. And if Disney's revived, hit subscribe.
And remember, watch what you post online because you might end up in next week's episode. Thanks for listening.